Greetings, Mechwarriors. Welcome back to Mechwarrior Online. Now, not too long ago, we talked about a discussion to improve MWO, some ideas presented by some highly esteemed members in the community on how to improve the game, and this is the podcast number 2 that happened about a week ago. They had some really excellent points in there, some great suggestions for improving the game, for balancing the game even further, and I think you guys need to be aware of that, and you should see that, and then you can also look at what PGI ends up doing in the end, or what they end up talking in the end, and can make up your own opinions. But I think it's very healthy for us as a community to at least know that this is being discussed. These things are being discussed in the community, and hopefully PGI, if they hear enough from the community that we want these kinds of things, they might actually listen. But hey, we'll see. So, if you guys are interested in the source for this presentation, I'm going to put the link down in the video description below. Let's get on going. If I can actually find the right key here. Boom. Community balance proposal again. Return of the Gulag. What's wrong? The current issues that they're stating are balance problems solved by removing a playstyle entirely, multiple deterrent mechanics implemented to solve a single problem, top end of the skill tree is used to balance base stats, mech agility reduced on some of the mechs, leading to a lower time to kill, QUIRKS implemented in a non-systematic or logical way, too low performance floors leading to some mechs being obsolete, and huge mech proportions negating cover usage and defensive maneuvers. The goals they want to have a more focused and a more streamlined skill system. The QUIRKS should be transferred from a role defining to a role boosting kind of QUIRKS. They want to revive forgotten balanced playstyles. For example, I'm guessing Gauss PPC here. They want to amplify weapon rolls, level the playing field a little bit, restore high agility to mechs, so it's actually possible to properly torso twist again with assaults, and take another look at mech scale. The tools they identified to deal with these are the skill tree, the QUIRKS, the weapon statistics, mech agility, and mech scale. Well, let's talk about the skill tree. It's actually funny because yesterday in the town hall they were also briefly touching on the skill tree. PGI was not really talking much about it, except on, I mean, one of the points that I got was, do you know how much money it would cost to revitalize the skill tree or to revise it? I, as a player, I don't care. PGI, you've got our money, like, make some use out of it, right? The problem with the current system, according to our friends, is a high number of skill nodes with minimal effect, which is what I've been saying the first time I actually saw this new skill tree. It's just too much stuff going on, maze-like design, not a focus tree, lots of skill nodes are forced and redundant, and it's too much visual clutter. All in all, as I always said, guys, there's no impact in choosing one skill node or most of the skill nodes over others. It's just minuscule little changes, and that needs to be addressed. So, for example, instead of 15 range nodes, just have 4 range nodes, or maybe even just have 1 range node or 2, I don't know. Instead of boosting stuff by like little bits, like here anchor turn, speed tree, kinetic burst, and heartbreak, make it an engine output boost that has all these stats in there and just generally gives you more agility in your mech. Like things that make sense. And also, if you put skill points into this, it's gonna feel like you're actually getting something out of it. You can't really feel like 1% increase, but you will feel 10% or 20%. So yeah, looking at this, designing a focused skill tree, absolutely. In this idea, for example, they were focusing down the weapons tree, where it looks like one tree is range and weapon velocity, the other branch would be heat and duration of lasers, and the other branch would be cooldowns and ammo capacity. Actually, interestingly enough, ammo capacity across the board, no distinction between missiles and Dakka. They're also proposing a thermal tree and a mobility tree, but I think this will come on later as well. Like, for example, hill climb in the operations tree, maybe move that to mobility. Cool run, move that from operations to a thermal tree. And also avoid potentially redundant force nodes. Yep, like AMS overload. Just have like one AMS overload node. Because these are a lot of trees right now. Let's have a look at the proposed trees in here. Again, guys, if you want to go through this in your own speed, just download the presentation at the link specified in the description of this video. Now here for the weapons tree, as you can see, you've got heat on the one side with laser duration combined. On the top tree, you've got range and velocity. Right here, do I have my mouse? Perfect. And on the right hand side, we have cooldown as well as jams, Gauss charge time, and ammo capacity. That's a nice thing. I mean, this looks like it would make sense, right? The only question is like how many skill points can you put in here? But I like this idea so far. They've reduced the clutter quite a bit. Maybe not even enough. Like, why not condense these down even further? I mean, this way, of course, you have the ability to, let's say if you want just 5% laser duration, you can do that. In my opinion, it would feel even better if it wasn't necessarily a skill tree, but just some skills that you can select. Like, if you want to have lower laser duration, you select laser duration minus 15%. I don't know. I guess if you still want to retain a tree, then these skill nodes make more sense. I just wonder whether it goes far enough or not. But this is definitely, to me personally, looking a lot better than what we currently have. That's the main point, right? Also, like, condensing jam duration, or condensing the Gauss charge, or condensing the cooldown nodes from like whatever they had before to like just 3 or 4. Same thing with heat, same thing with range. Makes a lot more sense, right? It's similar to what used to be with the modules, right? Survival tree. That's actually interesting. There is a weighted amount of armor hardening and skeletal density per node. So the heavier your mech is, the less percentage increase you get per node, which makes sense, of course. So what do we have in here? We would have override damage, minus 20%. I like that. 2 nodes of that. AMS overload condensed into 1. Skeletal density condensed into, what is that, 3 nodes? 4 nodes, and armor hardening also condensed into 4 nodes. Fall damage reduced, crit chance reduced. Yeah, makes sense. And that's a survival tree. It doesn't really need many more than these. They're also looking at the amount of CT armor per mech tonnage, and they're looking at ways on how to improve that. Basically, the chunkier the mech, the more armor they would have at the end of the newly proposed skill tree, which I like, honestly, as an assault pilot. Assaults are big, slow, chunky guys, so they need to be able to survive properly, right? And this will give them a little bit more on the survival side. We're not talking insane increases, but maybe like being able to catch one more AC-20 to the face. Yeah. Torso. Survival gains versus mech tonnage. That's also something that's interesting to look at. But yeah, as you can see, they're looking to like even out the curve a little bit more. That's for structure, of course. Then on the other side here, we have the mobility tree. We've got 2 hill climb nodes in here. I don't know if we need 2 nodes for that, or if it could just be 1. Jump jet burn time, lift speed, engine output boost, 3 nodes, which would combine top speed, reverse speed, acceleration, deceleration, and turn rate. I like that. And gyro upgrades, which would include yaw, pitch, speed, and less screen shake. I like that as well. I just don't know if that goes far enough, but there's another discussion point, I think, about like being able to look up or down with mechs, because the mechs are not 95-year-old men. They're supposed to bend over and bend backwards a little bit, right? So yeah, makes sense to me. Definitely looks well thought out, and I'm honestly, this looks better than what PGI currently has. And this is a community proposal. Again, the point being, what you choose should matter, and you should not be getting killed with the available options. Less options, but have those options be meaningful. That's what I've been saying all along. Thermal tree. You've got 2 points for enhanced cool shot. Not sure if I liked it or not. In my opinion, cool shot and artillery strike should be removed from the game. I think they should be removed from the game. But let's see what else is in here. We've got coolant reserves, we've got cool shot cooldown 25%, so these are just 1 node. Quick ignition, I don't think that needs to be a skill point, honestly. I think quick ignition is just bullshit. Your mech starts up quicker after shutdown. I don't think that's needed. We've got heat capacity in here and cool run, which makes sense to me, but I would remove the quick ignition nodes, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. That to me feels redundant, and it is a requirement to get all the cool run and heat capacity here, which, I don't know. Maybe it should be part of cool run, or should be part of heat capacity, I don't know. Jump jet heat also condensed, I like that. Sensors tree, let's see what it did here. Sensor range, target decay, info gathering, advanced zoom is just 1 skill node directly from the sensors tree, I like that. Seismic is split up once again and combined with target retention. I don't like that as much. Again, like if you say, let's say you want double seismic, you are forced to take target decay and target retention, as well as info gathering. Again, you're forcing people to choose nodes that they don't necessarily want to choose. So while I agree with condensing it down, and for example, condensing enhanced ECM together, they should also have condensed seismic together, in my opinion. As well as Radar Derp. I don't know. I mean, Radar Derp, on the other side, Radar Derp has a huge effect. 40% is pretty strong. I don't know. But if you go this way, again, you're forcing people to take nodes they don't necessarily want to take. Just as fillers, which I would avoid. So maybe this one, maybe rearrange it a little bit, I don't know. Utility tree. Extra consumables. See, for example, like this, extra consumables, easy to understand. You go down this tree, you always get one more. Perfect. Left-hand side, UAVs. Right-hand side, strikes and spotting for those strikes. Top-hand side, narc and capture assist. I mean, this might be more relevant for like faction play slash comp play. I mean, of course, these trees are also designed with like comp play in mind as well, so that might be the reason why some of these are a little bit more convoluted. But as I say, this I don't like as much. This makes a lot more sense. Like if you're gonna go into UAVs, you go down the UAV tree. If you wanna go into strikes, you gotta go to the right hand side. If you want extra consumables, you have them all here. Can select them. That's better. Areas for tuning. Max unlockable nodes. 40 out of 108. Still too many nodes, I think. Per node boost percentage and new nodes for new functionality. Yep. Okay. So that's the skill tree. Now let's talk about quirks. Minus 5% streak SRM2 heat. Yes, we've all seen these quirks that make no sense and they're just there because somebody felt that they needed to put something on there, right? Problem with the current system, according to our friends, overused quirks to address weapons and survival shortcomings, too many weapon-specific quirks, quirks focusing on stock loadouts, and we all know most stock loadouts are just garbage. So quirks shouldn't be focusing on stock loadouts, and good quirks being forgotten and underused, or being on very, very few mechs. For example, quick draw IV4. Alright. The solution would be to balance using weapon stats and then quirks. So basically, as opposed to giving the awesome 8Q huge quirks for energy heat and PPC heat, they would first bring down the total heat of the PPC family and of the lasers, and then add a couple of quirks on top, which of course makes sense. Also makes it easier to balance, I think. My problem with this would be, this is just an example, so it's just not thought out as a definitive idea, but 5% quirks to me don't feel powerful. Quirks should be something that define a role, that define a specific mech's role, and make it extremely good at that. So a 5% quirk to me, again, like, fuck it, nobody cares. I don't care. I want quirks to be impactful, so they should feel more impactful than this. I don't want to see 5% stuff, guys. No, just no. I get it, like, reduce the overall heat so that everybody benefits, and then have a little bit of a quirk extra, sure, but 5%, you're not gonna feel that much. Quirks need to be impactful, and you're not gonna feel that much of 5% energy heat. What you'll feel is a heat scale limit +1. That you'll feel very quickly. So maybe think about that a little bit more, but the general idea I like. Next point, don't use armor versus structure to differentiate variants. Oh yeah, especially like the armor Atlas quirks versus the armor structure quirks on the Atlas on some of the models, which the structure is always inferior. So just give the Atlas plus armor and give more attention to weapon quirks. Yes, absolutely agreed. Use armor quirks to compensate agility or geometry. For example, on the Cougar Prime, CT armor and right torso armor. Like that. Focus on generalizing quirks. So instead of having like a quirk that says large pulse laser range, large pulse laser cooldown, just give it cooldown and range, and not focus too much on which weapons are going to be in there. Or for the King Crab, minus LRM spread, just change it to minus missile spread. Yep, like that. Makes it easier. Also requires you to have less different quirks in the game, right? Then there are useful quirks in the game, and they're not really being used right now. For example, the large pulse laser heat skill limit. Warmer to see, could have that. Or the king crab, of course. Everybody wants to see the AC20 heat skill limit, king crab 000+1, right? Or increase jump jet duration and initial thrust to 35-ton max with jump jets, sure. And of course, things like the low arm armor, specifically on like the Jägermech or the Stalker and whatnot, give armor quirks to compensate for that deficit. I like that point down here. Stop creating problems! Full proposed list right there. Weapon statistics, balancing from the top. For the energy weapons, they're proposing to focus on reviving laser-focused builds. PPCs focus on making inner sphere PPCs viable using top-performing PPC mech quirks as a guide. 100% agreed. Inner sphere PPC just feels completely lackluster compared to the clan variant. Ballistic weapons, ACs versus UX versus LBs and RAGs. Focus on differentiating based on non-damage related stats. Okay. Gauss, restoring its role as a sniper weapon by giving it probably more range and speed, I guess. And then machine guns, giving value to light machine gun and heavy machine guns. Mainly through ammo boosts? Yeah. Maybe. Missile weapons, ATM damage output, reduce the upfront damage and increase the long range damage. Maybe. LRMs, focus on performance against AMS and indirect spread, okay. AMS, focus on performance against LRMs and defensive strength, okay. Streak, focus on the tracking mechanics. Yeah, we've got a couple of problems there. And SRMs and MRMs, focus on the salvo density and performance against AMS. There's there's actually a lot of thought in there. They're going a lot more in depth than I have actually looked into these weapons. So I'm just gonna try and summarize this in a general term because I don't want to go off over all the suggestions in here. But for example, what they would suggest is to lower down the heat for inner sphere large lasers or ER large lasers, increase the range, but also increase the cooldown. Or improve the inner sphere large pulse lasers, give it a teensy bit more damage, lower the heat a teensy bit, increase the duration, and increase the range. Same thing for clan lasers. They want to, in this balancing example, for example, they would take down the range a little bit of those clan lasers, which I think makes sense. Specifically the clan large pulses and clan medium pulses to bring them a little bit more in line with the inner sphere counterparts. PPCs, here we go. Lowering the heat from the snapnose PPC, give it the heat skill limit +1, absolutely agreed. ER PPCs. That would be an interesting thing to see what they would do with that and how they would balance ER inner sphere versus clan. Light PPC heat skill limit +999. But yeah, just generally increasing the speed of the PPCs and lower the heat across the board a little bit. And standard PPC heat skill limit +1, so you would be able to fire 3 at the same time. I also wonder, like, what about the dead zone, whether it's actually needed or not. Autocannons, increase speed on AC2s, hell yeah. Decrease the heat a little bit on some of the autocannons. Increase the projectile speed, especially on the AC20, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And decrease the shell counts for the clan UX20. Oh, AC20, never mind. This is AC20, never mind. Oh, here we go. Ultra autocannons, my special friends. Suggestions to decrease the jam duration. Absolutely. Have it a little bit higher cooldown, have it do a little bit more heat, but just kill the jam duration a little bit. And kill the jam chance a little bit. Wholeheartedly agreed. LB10s, no changes because LB10s feel good. LB20. Decrease the heat, decrease the spread on the AC, on the LB2 and the LB5, yep. Especially the LB2, like there's always a deliberation between AC2s versus LB2s for sniping. The problem with the LB2 if you use it for sniping is that at 1000 meters or whatnot, you're gonna hit for 1 damage each, up here and down there. Because there's so much bullet spread. Rotary autocannons, Rag 2 feel good, keep them where they are. Rag 5, decrease the heat, increase the velocity of the bullets, and decrease the spread. I would go further. For the Rack 5s, what I find is that, because we've seen it today on the stream, they just jam too quickly. So Rack 5, like, lower that down a little bit. Then there are some changes supposed to happen to light gauss, and heavy gauss. Increase the weapon health, yes, because they explode very quickly. And as you can look at this is to make the gauss like more of a sniper weapon. So increase the cooldown for the light gauss. Decrease the ammo per turn per light gauss, but if you're looking at gauss on clan and inner sphere, increase the range, increase the max range, and increase the weapon health. Actually, not even touching the speed. Okay, makes sense. Would make it more useful as a sniper weapon. Would also bring it more in line with the ERPPC, of course. Machine guns. I mean, the only proposed change here is to just increase the ammo per turn on light and heavies. AMS, this is one I like. Increase the range for AMS from 190 to 250. Increase the ammo per ton, 100% agreed. And also decrease the heat per second on the laser AMS. Yep, because it's just too hot. LRMs. Decrease the health. Increase the spread. Would make sense. Although while the clan LRMs need to be more healthy than the inner sphere LRMs, that's beyond me. There might be a good reason for that. ATMs. Decrease the heat, increase the missile health, increase the long range damage, decrease short range damage. I like that. I mean, it's literally just giving it a little bit more on the long range end and decreasing it a little bit on the short range end, because the 3 damage per missile is a little bit harsh. Again, you guys have seen what ATM 48 does in that sweet spot. It literally just destroys mechs. So yep. Then here, MRMs. Faction, clan. No, guys. This is inner sphere. That must be a typo. For the MRMs, decrease the spread. Yes. Decrease the volley health. No, increase the braid fire. Increase the missile health, but decrease the delay on the volley. So basically make it so that the whole volley gets delivered a little bit quicker, up until the MRM 30, not the MRM 40. And increase the health a little bit, so it gets better through AMS. I like that. SRMs, increase missile health, wholeheartedly agreed. And decrease the spread on the SRM 6, yes. And that's not a huge decrease, but it is a decrease that they're proposing, and I like that, because the spread is just too much. Streak SRMs. They want to increase the cooldown a little bit, by half a second. Okay. Not sure if I agree with that, but I do agree with the increasing the health on those missiles. I think for streaks it needs to go higher though, because AMS is still going to be too powerful against streaks. You're shooting a very limited amount of missiles, so AMS is extremely powerful against that. So, and you have to be close range, right? So, don't necessarily agree with that. I think missile health increase for streaks needs to be higher. And change bone tracking to spread-based tracking. Okay. There are the further details of that. Okay, let's talk about mech agility. I like that point. These are mechs, not all tankers. So, they're saying the problem with the current system is mech agility is based off an imaginary power level. The agility floor is abysmally low, yes. The torso yaw limits are used too often as a balance tool, yes. And almost laughable torso pitch limits on most mechs, yes. 100%. So, if overall mech agility were to be increased, they're saying as a guidelines, you should consider the mech's hardpoint location. So if low hardpoints equals straight line agility, I like that. Compensate low engine limits with good leg-based agility, okay. Keep the turn rate as the main balance factor in assault versus light fights, that makes sense. Compensate bad mech hitboxes with higher torso twist rates, So basically, if you're a huge hulking thing, you should be able to twist it a little bit faster. And mechs focused on close range combat need better torso twist rate and limit, yep. And there's a good example right here with the Vulcan. The Vulcan has a lot more acceleration and can jump twice as high than the 35-ton Firestarter with more firepower. That's the reason, for example, why the Vulcan 5T is such a great mech. Okay, now it gets a little bit more into technical details. Choosing a proper agility floor, have a sense about what low agility values play in game. Like, exactly, try accelerating to top speed in a Kodiak or in a Marauder 2C. Exactly that. Reshape the acceleration curves, have a more open hand in balancing, okay? Increasing to overall torso agility and yaw and pitch limits. Yep. Torso yaw 85 to 90 degrees as limit floor. Mechs with low mounts need more torso yaw limit, yes. Increase torso twist speed, especially on larger mechs, yes. Choose 25 degrees as the floor for torso pitch limit and fix this bullshit. Yep. Oh, is this low values also mean worthless percent-based skill tree nodes? Okay, this is interesting. This is great to see. Like basically right now, torso pitch does nothing. This is a great image. Really well done, guys. This says more than 100,000 words. This is completely fucking useless, is what this says. Torso pitch angle, based on skill tree nodes. Love to see it. This literally does nothing. Then also jump jets, of course. There's no consistency between tonnage versus tonnage cost versus power on the mechs right now, and they are proposing some changes to make it a little bit more sensible. Fix the low end through quirks and fix the high end by an increased duration. Looking at that with like example case with 3 jump jets versus what they would suggest. Again, current curve. There's a huge drop, for example, in the jump height that you get, as opposed to the tonnage that you have, and they would just even that out a little bit more. I like that. Then there is mask. The current problem is that mask is highly focused on acceleration and deceleration, and the slow cooldown rate is counterintuitive. Yep. The vertical shake on mask is completely ridiculous. It's a lot of micro involved, and the low redline threshold with fast fill rate contributes more to micro control. Yep. Mask is very micro intensive right now. Proposed solutions shift the focus more towards like a continuous speed rather than acceleration and deceleration. Slow down the mask fill rate, reduce the shake, and increase the redline threshold. What's the point of 100% if it already kills you before that? Proposed changes: reduce the mask fill rate by 50%, reduce the acceleration and deceleration boost, yes. Reduce the vertical shake, yes, and increase the redline threshold to 85 from 75, agreed. That would make mask feel a lot more viable. And now we get to mech scale. You know I like to point out the big chunky boys, and unfortunately the big chunky boys are also a lot bigger than they should be. Because PGI said they did volumetric scaling, but they didn't really. Problem with the current system: mech above 35 tons are way too huge. Huge mechs negates effectiveness of cover usage big time, and the large hitboxes mean a low time to kill in a semi-FPS game. And it's a skewed sense of scale. So this is how it looks currently on the live client. You've got your Locust right here, then you've got your Wolfhound over there, and over there is the 100-ton Atlas. So why is the Wolfhound at 35 tons almost twice as big, for example, as the Locust? One wonders. This is how it would look in terms of volumetric scaling. Look at the differences. Look how much smaller the Wolfhound and the Atlas get actually when you do real volumetric scaling. And imagine that Atlas also being able not to turn extremely fast, but to twist a lot faster. And now all of a sudden you've got an assault mech that can actually bring all this armor and structure to bear, which would be interesting. Well, but what they're proposing is not volumetric scaling. They're proposing a different way. Choosing a middle ground between monometric scaling and live scaling that we currently have, but stay consistent. I like this. It would make especially my big boys a little bit smaller, which I like. Yes, honestly, I like that. And it would feel more consistent, honestly. It would feel more consistent. Like this, for example, if you look at how big the trebuchet is right now and how big it would be with the proposed changes, it's a lot smaller, and therefore not as easy to murder. Fafnir, for example, is a great thing to show here, because I love to play Fafnirs, but they're just barnyards. They're just so huge. And if you lower the size just a little bit, all of a sudden it just feels a lot more manageable. Wholeheartedly agreed. Again, this is how it's on live. This is how the balance scale would look like. It's not that much smaller. It's just a little bit, but it would make a lot of difference. Alright. This is a great point that comes up now. Fix geometrical issues that affect gameplay. Like huge arms that are standing way apart from your body and at weird angles. Like I was saying here, this arm is in Europe, this arm over there is in Asia. Just scale it down and bring the arms in better relation to the body. Don't tilt them outwards. 100% agreed. There's the full list again. Final word on weapon mech balance. You can't pick and choose when it comes to balance. Yep. Concept of balance is a single package. Scale, weapon stats, skill tree, mech agility, and quirks in one area. Good point. Then we get to the side torso destruction penalty. These are all points that we already covered briefly on the other video that I made, guys. So this is just going into more details now. The side torso destruction penalty, if you implement it in the wrong way, it discourages short-range fights. And it's counterintuitive to how heat and physics work. This is a great example because this had happened to me as well. You have enough heat for a salvo, you fire. When you're shooting, you get shot in the side torso, you lose that side torso, and you either die or you shut down and then you die because you're still overheated. Solution, keep the heat percentage the same while you subtract total heat capacity. If needed, balance, use passive penalties such as speed, agility, and dissipation. Yep. And use common sense to consider the effect on gameplay when implementing such mechanics. Then, map mode fixes. Balance changes to modes such as max points and conquest main and faction play. Okay, I don't do as much faction play, so I'm gonna abstain from giving too many comments here. I'll leave that up to the guys who actually play this a lot and have a lot more knowledge about faction play than I do. So, exactly. Changes to base numbers, changes to values for points. And fix spawn locations. There is the list. There is a list of spawn cancer. Fix it. Fix it, fix it, fix it. I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear wishy-washy stuff like we had in yesterday's town hall. I would like you guys to either fix those spawn point locations or remove the groups from the solo queue. Because then the spawn points will be as they were beforehand. They will not be perfect, but at least light mechs are going to spawn in alpha lands and assaults are going to spawn in Charlie lands. Not assaults in alpha lands as it is right now. Then miscellaneous, arm reticle control. The camera is stuck to the torso past the torso twist limit. So the view doesn't go past that limit. But your view should actually follow that. Because if your arms can look at it, this should be in the center. Like this. Oops, this area should be in the center of your screen, not this. Same thing here. If you can look down here, this should be in the center of your screen, not this. View should stick to arm reticle when past torso limit. Exactly that. Much more effective use of arm reticle, and you see more and better. Same thing here. PGI, please. That is it. That is it. So we went over this quite quickly, guys. I highly recommend to you to go ahead. Hang on. How do we go to the... I'll just rush back to the first one. Highly recommend that you guys go ahead, read through this, get acquainted with some of the proposed changes, and then get loud and tell PGI that you would like to see changes in this direction. It doesn't mean that they have to be exactly like that. Again, I had some points where I would like things to be a little bit different, or where I think some choices should be a little bit more meaningful, but the overall direction of this is just a lot better than what we currently have. So make your voices be heard, guys, and maybe together we can get PGI to actually make changes for the better. Because if we don't get the input in, they'll just make something and that will have questionable results. as has been in the past. And I, for one, I would like to see the game improve. I would like to see the game have more people in it, and I think PGI would like to see the same thing. So let's hope they come to the same conclusions as we do. Once again, the link to the whole presentation is down in the video description. Check it out. Let me know what you think, guys, in the comments below, and thanks to the guys over on MWO Leaks for this whole document and for trying to make this game a better place. I'm gonna try to do my part here with more guides aimed at new players, with more guides to help new players get a grasp on the game, so stay tuned for that. It's gonna come in the very near future. Until then, thanks for watching. This has been TTB. I'll see you next time on YouTube. Bye bye.